Okay, third and fourth, we made it. This is our last video for social studies. I know you're at home cheering. All right, so this is just our chapter 5 quiz review. The quiz is only 8 points, so not terrible. Thank you, Mrs. Connor. You're welcome. So we're going to grab your books. We're going to look into, just touch base on James Madison, when he became president, what was going on with Congress, the war with Britain, 1812. And then they were fighting with Canada, the United States Navy fighting in the north, the British attack in the east. You should look at Fort McHenry, the end of war, and patriotism. Are these all going to be on your quiz? Probably not, but you don't know what Mrs. Connor's up to and what she'll pick. But if you were listening and truly go back and review and you watch this video today, you should be fine. I believe they're all true and false. Don't hold me to that, but I believe they are. Okay? So let's go ahead. Turn to page 102 and 103. It's just the very beginning of your chapter. It looks kind of like this. Okay? So remember that President Jefferson did not want a third term. And this is when James Madison came into the picture and was running for president. And he was the 4th president. He, remember, was doing things before he even became president, shaping the nation. He helped to write the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. He encouraged people to accept them. Okay? And Madison and Jefferson worked closely together. When he became president, he faced a big problem. Remember, there was trouble with trading because the Americans, they didn't always treat the Americans in the United States fairly because Britain and France were fighting in war, okay? So that made trade hard because when the Americans tried to trade with the French, the British got angry. When they tried to trade with the British, the French got angry, so they shut it down. And stopped American ships from trading altogether. Okay, Congress came in, they tried to solve the problem, but when America stopped selling goods to the countries, the national government made less money, and then the government could not pay its bills. Okay, so the war with Britain. James Madison was part of the Democratic Republicans. They were angry how Britain acted. Many thought Britain acted like America and still belonged to Britain, but the British stopped U.S. trade ships and took U.S. sailors. Excuse me. In Canada, the British supplied weapons to the Indians to fight Americans. So the Democratic Republicans thought the United States should fight Britain. And then in 1812, the U.S. declared war on Britain. Turn the page. That's when the War of 1812 began. Remember, neither one of them were ready to fight because the British were already fighting France, okay? And Britain did not want to fight 2 wars at the same time. Okay. And also just a reminder that armies cost a lot of money to make sure you have weapons and materials that you need. Go ahead and look at page 107, Canada. So remember, they wanted to start fighting in Canada to defeat the British. Britain was a powerful colony and often traded with Canada instead of the U.S. The British in Canada supplied weapons to the Indians in the United States. The Americans thought taking over Canada would be easy. There were few British soldiers in Canada. And remember that the Americans hoped that the Canadians might join them. But what happened? Their hope fell. Very good. I'm on page 108 if you're following along. And I'm just kind of skimming, reviewing for you. Canadians did not join the American side. The American generals attacked Canada from the Michigan Territory, remember? And then they lost that battle because then they were upset about that, okay? All right, let's go ahead and look at page 109. The United States Navy, remember the Navy was more successful than the Army. They had fewer than a dozen ships, but they were stronger ships. Remember we talked about the USS Constitution defeating the HMS Guerriere at the bottom here. In that picture we talked about that. Okay. They had heavier guns and did more damage to the Guerriere. And and the cannonballs that the British had bounced off the Constitution. So they ended up controlling the sea, and they won that battle. Remember, because they were excited. They had finally defeated a British ship. Page 110 and 111. Okay, the British seemed to be winning the war, but before making a peace treaty with Britain, America wanted to get its lost land back. So the U.S. Navy led the way. They wanted to win the control of the Great Lakes. And that was part of the Michigan Territory. Okay. That's where we met Oliver Perry, because he commanded the U.S. ships. Okay. They lost this battle. British went back to Canada. American soldiers followed. And there they defeated the British and the Indians who were helping them. That's where we also met Chief Tecumseh, but there's nothing on the test about him. Go ahead and look at British attacking the East. Remember, we had started talking about this. Just when America seemed to be winning, the British started to fight what? Harder. So by 1814, Britain had defeated France and now could focus on the United States. They attacked the eastern coast first. Remember, they went to D.C., Washington, D.C., attacking the capital, and then Baltimore, Maryland. And that's when we were introduced to Fort McHenry. And Fort McHenry is the place that guarded the harbor of Baltimore. They fired on the fort for 25 hours. But the fort stood firm, and they saw that the Americans would not give up. The end of the war, remember, they decided no one was winning, right? And they decided to get together and have a peace talk and came up with a peace treaty. However, back in that day, it took a long time for that news to travel. So remember, the British troops were attacking the American army at New Orleans, and they hadn't received that news that the war had ended yet, okay? And winning this last battle here on this picture at the bottom was a huge success and end for Americans, okay? No one gained any land in this battle, and no one lost any land. All captured ships were returned. European countries began to respect America as a truly independent nation because America proved it could defend itself. The war did change how America dealt with the Indians, remember, and I didn't think that was fair. I'm sure you guys hopefully agreed with me. These nations lost land and fighting strength, and they did not always treat the Indians well. And Andrew Jackson, remember we talked about him, had defeated a group of Creek Indians and made them sign a treaty. This was against the law, and President Madison came in and ordered him to return the land, but Jackson had refused. He was a popular war hero. Remember, I talked about that. So the U.S. government let him do what he wanted. And then to end, and unfortunately, I hate that we had to end in the middle of a chapter, but this is just a good place to stop where we were to end the school year. So on page 114, the patriotism, just know what patriotism means. We introduced Dolly Madison. What was her role in all of this? And we also met the author of the poem, The Star-Spangled Banner, who was Francis Scott Key. And that later became America's national anthem. Okay? That's pretty much it in a nutshell. If you want to go back through and just kind of skim those pages, I would recommend it. Go back through and look at your workbooks. And this is it, guys. I miss you. I hope you have some kind of a blessed summer, maybe a little different than normal, but I hope that you make some new memories and have fun. And I'll see you next fall.